Welcome to our next notes page called proportions. Yay. So here we are. Before we get into a lot about proportions, let's just talk about fractions. Okay? Because fractions are the same thing as rates, and rates have a lot to do with what a proportion is. So let's look at this first set of rates. We have 1 over 2 equals 2 over 4. Now, are these fractions, are these rates equivalent? Does 1/2 equal 2/4? Yes, it does. And if you didn't quite know that, then maybe you could use a technique by simplifying this fraction. Well, 2/4 is really the same as 1/2 when simplified, so is 1/2 equal to 1/2? Yes. Now, when we get over here, you might not be able to just look at it and see, are these two fractions equivalent? So what we might need to do is our butterfly method. Some of you guys remember this, okay? We multiply here 100 times 10. We get 1,000. We multiply over here 20 times 50. And it is also 1,000. And why do we call it the butterfly? Because, I don't know, looks like a little butterfly. Okay, so if these two numbers are both equal to each other, guess what? Our fractions are equivalent. Awesome. Now this one down here, I want you to pause the video and determine if these two fractions are equivalent. When you multiplied, you would have gotten 960 over here. And 960 over here. So these two fractions are equivalent. Now let's go ahead and look at what the word proportional means. A proportion is an equation. Okay, now let's look back at these. Is this an equation? Well, if we know anything about equations, equations need to have equal signs and numbers on either side of the equal sign. So is this an equation? Yes, it is. Okay. A proportion is an equation stating that two ratios or rates are equivalent. Now guess what we were just doing? We were looking at rates and we were checking to see if they were equivalent. Okay? By determining that two ratios or rates are equivalent, you're stating that they form a proportion. So all of these examples that we just did are all proportions. Go ahead, pause your video here, and copy these notes about what a proportion is. All right, next, I have just a funny little meme about proportions. Da-da-da. And one more. And don't tell Miss Hernandez how this cat spells. This cat spells terribly, terribly. Quantity of fluff is directly proportional, if I can speak, to amount of happiness. Yay. Because we all know more fluff means more happy. If a cat has 10 amounts of fluff, that means that you have 50 happy points. Well, if a cat has 20 amounts of fluff, that means you have 100 amounts of happiness. Yay. And are these two rates proportional? Well, since the fractions are equivalent, they are proportional. Yay. All right, so go ahead and read this scenario and see if you can solve this problem using rates and proportions. Okay, so if we have 9 millimeters of growth in 3 months, and what are these that I'm putting here? These are labels. If you didn't label your rates, you need to be labeling your rates. Otherwise, people end up making big, big mistakes. Okay, so are these two rates proportional? Well, if we were to multiply like this, are these proportional? Nope, they are not proportional. Okay, because we've got 36 over here and we've got 9 over here. So these do not form a proportion. Go ahead and pause the video here and see if these rates create a proportion. Well, some of you might have been able to see that 26 times 2 equals 52, and 2 times 2 equals 4. Let me just check that. Yes. So, if you could have seen that relationship, you would already know that these two are proportional. Yay. All right. This will be our last one. Go ahead and see if these two rates are proportional. Pause the video now. All right, whenever you do the multiplication, 15 times 30, well, when I did 15 times 30, I just did 15 times 3. Can I do that? Sure I can, because I can always add in that 0 later and bring it down. We get the same answer, 450. And then 10 and 5/10 times 62 ends up giving us 651. So are our rates proportional here? No, they are not proportional. Womp womp. All right, see you guys tomorrow.